world, yeah.
Canada was reported to contribute 1.5% of the greenhouse gas emissions from the top 10 countries. China, the US, and India were the top 3 contributors with a combined 46%. With that in mind, do you believe that Canada can actually make a difference? What are your guys' thoughts?
I think so.
You think so? Even with it only being 1.5%?
Okay, on that note, so where is most of our product coming from? China, right? So we're not only contributing from Canada, we're also having the demand from China for them to produce. I believe it's 56% of their pollution is actually contributed to other countries using them as a source for all of
Supporting
the
North
products.
America and whatnot.
We have a
Exactly.
lot of resources here.
So are we just not accessing those resources and then it's actually... So this was another point that I want to bring up, but I'll bring it up now is, are we just aiding other countries who have less cleaner ways of producing certain things? Instead, we should be making it here.
Well, of course we are. I mean, we have carbon taxes here. So if I'm a company and I'm making a bunch of widgets, I'll just go to somewhere where there's lower taxes, no carbon tax. I'll use their energy. I don't care if it's green because I can make a widget for cheaper. The Canadian consumer wants something that's cheap, and there you go.
So we should actually be telling people, produce here. Let's just find a cleaner way to do it because other countries are doing it elsewhere.
To some extent, yes. So I think what they found is that it just really depends on the product. For example, if Canada were to grow their own lettuce here in greenhouse, they're going to produce more emissions than if it was to be grown in California and using a light rail to ship it to us. So it just really depends on what we're talking about.
Now, my follow-up to that is that realistic for us to change that? Because that would change the entire economy and the way that it functions. And one of the stats that I was doing some research on was a proposal came about that in order to be carbon neutral by 2050, we had to stop selling gas-powered cars by 2035. That's just over 10 years from now. Is that even a realistic thing?
No, I saw a rough statistic stating that it would take about $8 trillion just to make the electrical system in the United States prepared for everyone to have EVs at its current state.
8 trillion.
8 trillion of investment.
They could always just print it.
They could just print.
Seems like, unfortunately, that's what we're doing a little bit more.
Yeah, and electric cars are not necessarily the solution to it. There's other things that require less investment that could be beneficial in the long run. Like, for example, building around trains and people using less cars and just using more of public transport.
And now what about the sort of side of electric cars that are able to have a kill switch and get shut off at the snap
There
of
is
a finger?
definitely an argument to be made that the power that politics hold in this entire debate. Now, one of the statistics that I had here was, according to the Government of Canada's website, carbon dioxide is the main cause of human-induced climate change. Who are the primary contributors of CO2? What are they?
They say it's usually cows. They say that it's agriculture. That's
Really?
Yeah, for methane, though. They're talking about CO2, so it would be more fossil burning.
So is there something that we can do by 2035 to stop that? Like,
Not without radical change to
we
our
do
government.
have a lab meat and vegan agenda running right rampant right now. So
here's the problem that I have with this is being pushed, and it's being pushed like this is we should have solved it yesterday, but I'm being told now that it's unrealistic to even get this solved by 2050.
Yeah, it's once again, it's more so to get reelected. It's so people can say, oh, my prime minister, my president stands behind climate change. What they're going to accomplish is the exact same thing they accomplished with Kyoto, which is absolutely pretty much nothing. They're going to spend a bunch of taxpayer money, and it's going to go to absolutely nothing that moves the dial.
So, Chris, what's one thing that we can do?
It's going to be innovation. Like I said before, it's going to be an innovation that actually makes green energy more efficient and affordable for North America and the developing world, because the developing world is where we're seeing all these negative carbon emissions, and they have the right to cheap, affordable energy, reliable, just like we did when we were developing, right?
In your opinion, is it more important that we uphold the economy as it is and what's cheaper, or is it more important that we prevent climate change from happening and maybe not place it above economy?
I think the economy is going to be the most important thing, especially in Canada. We have a 1.5% of an impact. So even if we brought our carbon emissions down to zero, we still have 98.5% of the world polluting.
But what about China? We just talked about how 56% of their development is going to be causing all of these issues. Even if Canada is contributing 1%. We're talking about global scale. For example, India is getting more and more weather, temperatures increasing, causing people to literally move to Canada. And then that land is uninhabitable. All of these countries, we can't just say that we're not responsible for what's happening somewhere around the world, or even if other countries are contributing more, without saying that, hey, we should be responsible for this altogether, because countries that are not responsible for this are suffering.
But if we stop buying Chinese goods, how many Chinese people are we going to push into poverty?
What's going to happen to their
cut
economy?
Chinese like tomorrow, what would happen to all those Chinese people?
Well, initially there was an agreement that countries were going to go with green energy, but at the same time, the World Trade Organization had an agreement.
Karolina, I'm going to have you hold that thought. We'll be right back. I hope you guys are enjoying this one.